حدثنا محمد بن عبيد الله قال حدثنا عبد العزيز بن أبي حازم عن أبيه عن أبي حازم عن سهل بن سعد رضي الله عنه قال
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome all here with Mufti Mohamed ibn Muneer of HadithDisciple. No introduction needed. I'm not going to give an introduction. I had an introduction planned on the way here, but I'm not going to give it, inshallah. Inshallah. He's right in front of me. He's right here. And we're just trying to get this podcast in, trying to record it, inshallah. To start off, I'm going to hit you with a heavy one. Why HadithDisciple? Why the name? That's Tarkeeb, you know?
Clear.
What?
Clear.
Yeah.
Got you.
Why HadithDisciple?
Alhamdulillah. I appreciate you hosting me, inviting me. May Allah bless you. Peace and blessings. Shout out to all disciples worldwide, in the lands and the territories of the Twin Cities, Minnesota, St. Paul, and the rest of the United States and the rest of the world. May Allah bless all of them. Why HadithDisciple? Why not HadithDisciple? You know what I mean? Why not? So obviously hadith, and something that I've been striving and attempting to pursue. I can't, I don't make tazkiyah of myself. That's a heavy title, calling yourself a student of hadith. And it's definitely something that you realize you're in over your head when it's too late. The responsibility of it, the duty of it. It was Mohamed ibn Salama, rahimahullah, and perhaps others from the Salaf, they would say, "Man talaba hadith Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, faqad talaba a'la al-umuri, fayajibu an yakuna khayra nas." He who seeks, he who pursues the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam's hadith, that as a science, as a profession, as your focus, your goal, he has indeed talaba a'la al-umuri. That's the pinnacle. That's the highest point. Nothing bigger than that. You're going for the gusto, as they say.
Yeah.
فَيَجِبُ أَن يَكُونَ خَيْرَ النَّاسِ. So he must be the best of men in his character, in his akhlaq, his personal in the house ibadah.
Right.
Night prayer. All right? Additional fasts, lowering the gaze, controlling the tongue, being generous with your wealth, being brave. All of those chivalric, all right, traits you're supposed to manifest.
Yes.
Because you're bearing that title. So it's a heavy title, it's a weighty title, and it's something that we try to do to be students of hadith. So instead of just saying hadith student or student of hadith, we wanted to make something more dignified, something with a stronger, more impactful meaning linguistically.
Yeah.
Like you said, tarkeeb.
Yeah.
And very interestingly, when I first started the YouTube channel, I think it was 2012, it was called Hadith Studies. Hadith Studies. And then I sat back and said, it ain't bold enough. It ain't spicy enough. It ain't exotic enough. It ain't, like you said, strong linguistics.
Right.
So, I just sat around and said, disciple. Why not? So obviously the word disciple has very strong meaning and usage, connotation in English. And why I chose it is several different influences and backgrounds. Of course, martial arts, kung fu. No doubt about that. He's a disciple of this grandmaster, of this teacher.
Right.
He's a disciple of this, the Shaolin Temple, whatever the case may be.
His style.
Right. And just someone who's, he has a pedigree, a lineage.
Yeah.
He didn't just, start learning kung fu by himself, but he has a master that he served, that he studied with. You understand? He was abused by. You get what I'm saying? He was an errand boy for many years before he even learned one move.
Right.
All right, and it's a very interesting story. I've shared with some brothers before. There was someone who went to, he wanted to go to Shaolin or whatever, and he got there, and all he did was, cook and clean and sweep and, run errands. So he was frustrated. So, one of his tasks every day was to go fetch fresh water from the well. So obviously back in the day there was no, plastic rubber buckets like we have. It was a wooden bucket with, nails and, it was heavier on top of the water.
Right.
So his job was to take the water and you know, carry it back so that people could use the water to drink, to whatever they needed the water for, right? All right, cool. So after he did that and he got a little frustrated, he complained to one of his, you know, superiors. He says, I'm here to learn, not to be a servant, not to be a water boy. He said, all right, no problem. You don't have to go get the water anymore. You stay here, but I want you to just keep hitting the water. Right. Open water of cauldron, just breathe, stand properly, focus your energy, and hit the water. Right. So he kept doing it and doing it day after day, and obviously he says, all right, I'm not getting the water no more, and I'm just hitting the water. Yeah. What's the point? You wasting my time? So he quit. He left. He said, you sure you want to leave? He says, yeah, this is a waste of my time. No problem. So he went back to his family. So his family, they heard he was coming back. They prepared for him a banquet, a party. Our son's coming back, a kung fu master. Yeah. He studied in Shaolin. Da-da-da. You know, it's our son. Like you know, you graduating. You come back from Hajj. Everybody's happy. Yeah, exactly. Thinking that Sheikh Hussein Taymiyyah is coming back.
The hero's welcome.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they're sitting around. They're laughing, joking, you know, drinking, you know, blah, blah, blah. Our son is a kung fu master. And he's sitting there like, if you only knew, I know nothing. I was there all that time with nothing. So they said, oh, go ahead, son, do a move for us, or show us this, or break somebody in half, or throw somebody across the room. Right. Like, you know, laughing, you know, they don't get it. And he's sitting there, and the frustration, the anger is building up. And another person asks him, it's like, what's wrong, son? You don't know anything? You can't show us? It's a secret? Oh, no, he's trying to embarrass himself that he doesn't know nothing. Yeah. So they kept picking at him and poking at him. Right. And he said, I don't know anything. He got frustrated. He got up. And he slammed his hands on the table, and the wooden table split in half. And it's like, oh, man.
I did learn something.
That's why he's
hitting the water.
And then he sent it back.
He went right back.
He went back.
So
the moral of the story is that the word disciple, we're just talking about just from the martial arts world, is much more than just someone who's officially learning, but it's someone who's signing up to be a servant. Mm-hmm. And that's a part of the learning. Is to break the pride of the student. Okay. You gotta break the pride. You gotta get rid of your ego. Right. I ain't your flunky mufti. I'm not your errand boy. Right. That pride will prevent you from learning. So the pride has to be broken, has to be snapped. The student has to be broken. Yeah. And then what?
Reshape.
Put back together. So unwavering, loyal student of the art, and that is going to mimic his teacher. Mm-hmm. That is going to take everything from his teacher and then build his own and create his own. Take the good from his teacher, do away with the mistakes or the flaws of the teacher, and then what? Build his own. So that's from the martial arts aspect. That's why I use that word. Okay. Even though that's not
disciple,
Mandarin or Cantonese, but you get the point I'm trying
to
make.
I get it 100%.
Right. Then you can look at disciple with regards to the urban. Yeah. The urban spoken word, right? Right. You know, rap, hip hop, which was no doubt a big part, which is a big part of society to this day, but especially growing up in Philly in the late 80s and the early 90s. You know, everybody wanted to box, do this, do that, rap in school at the lunch table. Right. So, me personally, I don't know if I ever revealed this before. You might be the first one to hear this. I used to rap when I was younger. Yeah. And not bragging or nothing, but I was good at it. Yeah. I was good. Yeah. And there was a time in my life, alhamdulillah, Allah gave me better, but there was a time in my life in which I wanted to pursue it. Like really put my talents to some benefit. Putting
it together.
Yeah. You know, and alhamdulillah, Allah saved me from that.
Alhamdulillah.
Moral of the story is, we know one of the most infamous, legends of that era, of the late 80s, early 90s, especially the 90s, mid-90s, of course, he had different aliases and different names. And from those names and from those aliases was Streets Disciple. Disciple of Streets. So someone who's in the streets, who's street smart, who's aware, he keeps his eyes and ears open at all time, and this is my lifestyle. You know, it's a messed up life, but it's the only life that I know. Yeah. You know, why is it like this? Why are people like that? Why is the hood, the ghetto so messed? But it is what it is. Yeah. And I'm a disciple that's right,
of that environment,
and I'm gonna survive and I'm gonna take the good from it. Yeah. So that's another usage of it. Right. Then we talk about the Christian background, the whole concept of Allah Alam. We're not talking about Aqidah right now. Yeah. But with the Christians, you know, the concept of
the disciples.
There you go.
Of Jesus.
There you go. The Last Supper. No. Okay. The people that stood loyal to him.
Yeah. The Judases.
There you go. Versus the Romans.
Right.
So we talking about that, and then of course, last but not least, is the Islamic, Arabic concept of disciple, the Hawariyun. As Allah tells us in the Quran, Man Ansari ilallah. Who's my loyal, unwavering Disciples. People that learn from me, benefit from me, and when the drama comes, when the heat comes, they're gonna what?
Right.
They're gonna stand firm.
Right.
So the Sahaba, radiallahu ta'ala anhum, the Prophet tells us that Allah never sent a prophet except that he had supporters, except that he had Hawariyun.
Exactly.
People that followed his sunnah, people that were behind him, people, you understand? So all of these different usages of the term, it's just too much strength. And I said, I gotta put this in one,
and you put hadith before it.
There you go.
Halas.
Jar it up.
The package is
sealed. And alhamdulillah, no doubt, it rolls, it pops. Hadith Disciple.
Oh yeah, of course.
And a lot of people who are detractors, undercover lovers, as we say, closed doors, they admire it, they show hatred outwards. They know. You know what I'm saying? Don't make me get too on the streets. They know.
Exactly.
They act like they know, but what?
For sure, they
Okay. So it's a unique title, alhamdulillah. It's a dignified title. And I have all different types of stories of people that I encountered. I'm going to leave you with one because I don't want to talk too much. One day I was in Walmart and I was with my children, with some of my children. So obviously, you have children, they start getting a little older, they develop mentally. And your children, they start roasting you. Making fun of you, having you this,
they start to see you slow down.
But and you old, whatever. So, so we walking around, so this Muslim lady, she stops me. She says, "Assalamu alaikum, brother." I said, "Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah." She was a little older. She was like maybe like 50 or 60. And she probably was maybe from like, I don't know, maybe from Turkey, Azerbaijan, or something, maybe from that region. So she stopped and she said, "Brother, are you? I know you, brother. You're HadithDisciple. HadithDisciple." The kids is rolling, laughing like, "Oh, we got a HadithDisciple."
So they started calling you HadithDisciple.
She couldn't say disciple, but she knew that it was. She knew what it read. It was different. You know what I'm saying? Versus different other Dawah organizations. Channels, people that have different names that are oftentimes, just basic, and there's nothing wrong with that. But our style,
and one thing I love about it is that it's English.
There you go.
There's a lot of the Arabic words.
That's right.
So it's like,
there you go, and a classical word,
and it's
disciple.
A good word.
So nice. Alhamdulillah, that's from Allah. But those are some of the reasons in my mind why I chose that word and that, like you said, tarkeeb. And then HD. And then
HD.
Disciple. So you ain't gotta say student, disciple. That's it.
Disciples, disciplets.
That's HD. There you go.
Come on.
And then exactly.
It's a giving gift. It's a gift that keeps giving.
That's right.
Allahumma barik. That's beautiful. That's beautiful that you came up with that. Take me back to because you mentioned a few things regarding your studying, right? And I know you've talked about on other podcasts, other interviews, your studying days. My thing is, in this episode, I don't want it to be similar to those ones. I want to take a little unique turn towards this. You mentioned the mundane things. Regarding the Shaolin, carrying the buckets, hitting the water, and it had an effect. What was something that was in your days of studying, whether it's in the beginning, kuliya, magister, whatever it is, your master's studies, what was something that seemed so mundane to you, but it had
understood.
It opened up a lot.
Reach and effect.
Professionalism. You broke the table, essentially.
Professionalism. And that is manifested in some teachers that aren't friendly. That weren't friendly. Some teachers that didn't want to be your friend. They didn't. I don't care where you come from or what you look like. Some teachers that didn't welcome you. I'm here to teach you and go home. This one you can follow to the car. This one is left. This one invites you over his house. This one says, "Oh, you're American. Teach my." Me, I don't care nothing about you.
Boundaries.
There you go. So you learn that from the beginning. The concept of ilm is above all of us, and the hugging and the kissing and the mashallah, hayak Allah, that's good. But so you learn the harshness. You learn from the harshness of your teacher, which is a blessing. And a lot of people, they look down upon that. Or some teachers that were harsh, that were mean, that will break your back in Kulliyat al-Hadith, literally. I remember those days without any exaggeration. Sheikh Saud al-Jabbu'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, one of my main teachers of fiqh sunnah and the kulliyah, he was notorious. He was famous and infamous. He was known for being strong. He was known for being, a scholar of hadith.
Academically strong.
Yes, but he made you work for the grade. And I remember those days, man, in which you would be in the they, taking the exam and your hand would start hurting. It wasn't no typing, everything was written.
Right.
Writing. So one question, he give you a test, there's only 4 questions on the paper. Oh, mashallah, the students, mashallah. But every question was 10 questions in itself.
Right.
So what's the proof? Give the dalil. What the other scholars say? Why do they say this? Explain why it's the strong. And you write it, and your hand would be like this.
Yeah.
At the end of the test.
You start to feel the blisters and the
literally
calluses.
It would hurt.
Right.
And a lot of students, they would get mad, they would get upset. And some students would make dua. I seen them. They would say, I make dua against you. But that harshness
right.
and that professionalism, that hardcore, that you benefit from it later on in your life.
Right.
So that's something that, which could perhaps be mundane. Another benefit, a mundane thing, is hunger, not having food. And people, they think, we just romanticizing it. We're trying to look like we've been. No, it's real. It was times in which we had no food, literally.
Yeah.
So if you can survive with little or nothing and still study and still work hard and not complain and not beg and not sell your deen and sell out. So when the Lord blesses you with other things, you're going to what? Mm-hmm. You're going to fly through it.
Right.
So comfort, luxury, being pampered, right, is something that a lot of the younger generation, a lot of the younger students today, they don't have they got thin skin.
Yeah.
They don't have the toughness.
Yeah. When it comes to teaching, right, teaching styles, this is something that I differ from you on. When what you just said regarding the comfort, being pampered, professionalism, teachers that are more strict and stuff like this. For me, I'm a firm believer in when it comes to your studies, going to that which complements your ability to grasp a concept better, as opposed to sticking through something that is a situation that is only causing you to fail in your studies.
Resistance.
Right. So instead
I'm on the same page with you.
Instead of constant resistance, I think for me personally, right? So for example, if I have a teacher that tells me, hey, listen, I ask him a question and he says, hey, listen, you're not at this level yet, I'm not answering your question. Versus a teacher that says, see this book right here? It's way above your pay grade. But it's the book. That's the name of the book. This is the page that your answer could be in. Do what you got to do with that information.
Figure it out.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've appreciated the teachers that have done that for me, because I was able to look at a book that's way above my pay grade and discover on my own, I'm not there yet. You see what I'm saying? And I go up to and then I go up to the sheikh and I ask him, okay, can you clarify for me? And then it's a little bit easier. Versus a sheikh that says, hey, listen, this is the book, but it's not on your level and I can't give you this answer. Khawfan min, I'm afraid you might get, fitna from this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I just wanted to add to your point. What's your thoughts on that? Like, do you think a student should leverage his advantage more than, or a student should, because you're mentioning the struggle, like should a student stick through it or should they leverage their advantage of learning?
Understood. Well, I would say that if it's an issue with you and your nafs, then you always choose the harder way versus your nafs desires and comforts. If you studying is requiring you to be hungry or sleepless or getting sick because of the environment you're in, it's too hot or whatever, I would say always go with against the nafs.
Okay. Go against the grain.
Yeah, no doubt. No,
right.
When it comes to the nafs.
When it comes to nafs.
Yeah.
All right.
As far as something which is just not working for you, your style, your way of learning, I'm on the same page with you.
Yeah.
But that's advice that I had to learn later on, and I got later on when I was going to the master's program.
Yeah.
I asked one of the professors who wrote me asked him to write me a letter of recommendation, and he said, you got to go with the college which you have the most natural ability and the most natural inclination towards.
Right.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
We
the highest chance of success too.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. That's just the natural way. You know what I'm saying? Your natural inclination, and that was why I chose hadith. I like the style, the setup, etc. Right. But when it comes to the nafs, like your personal, pain is the weakness leaving the body, as some of them say.
Yeah.
La yunalu al-ilm bi rahat al-jasad. That's a golden statement that should be put on the wall.
Yeah. Or
your refrigerator magnet, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not too many people know that Imam Muslim, rahimahullah ta'ala, he quoted this athar from Yahya ibn Abi Kathir al-Yamami, okay? And Imam Muslim's book is not a book of mawqufat.
Right.
It's not like Bukhari.
Yeah.
Or it's a book of marfu'. And there's only a few athar that Imam Muslim mentions. And Imam Muslim, he mentions this statement in the book of, he's speaking about prayer, the night prayer.
Right.
What does it have to do with that? So some scholars have explained that Imam Muslim suffered, and he traveled, and he went through a lot to gather all of the turuq, to gather all of the different sub-narrations and the variations of this hadith with regards to the Prophet's night prayer.
Right.
And then he quoted Yahya ibn Abi Kathir saying, "La yustata'u al-ilm, la yunalu al-ilm bi rahat al-jasad."
So he's pointing to himself.
Yes.
What he went through for that.
He had to break his nafs to get this.
So
my rule
That's
is
beautiful.
that if it's an issue of your personal, especially what you're used to,
Yeah.
and the scholars have explained this, tarkul ma'lufat. I'm used to eating a full meal.
Yeah.
I'm used to sleeping 8 hours. I'm used to wearing this. Anytime between the nafs comfort and the struggle, you got to go against the nafs.
Yeah.
But as far as a style of study or teaching or field of expertise, then of course you want to go with
Exactly. That which is
for
the
sure.
highest chance of success.
No question.
The obvious pick.
No question.
Right.
And sometimes the teacher, like you said, with regards to, I can't answer this question, it's above your pay grade. Sometimes the teacher has to make a lot of students to fail. You want to know? Sure, no problem. Volume 10, page 250.
Go figure it out.
You know? And like I said, that goes back to breaking the pride as well.
Yeah.
I'm ready to empty my cup now, Sheikh.
Yeah.
You know?
You come back, you're like, okay, with more humility.
But
like,
it's different when, like you said, when you yourself.
When you come back.
Yeah.
Versus when he tells you.
That's right. That's shut you down.
Exactly. No, it's real interesting. You mentioned something about Muslim, his mawqufat, his difference from Bukhari. Not to be super technical with the hadith, because I also want a lot of other people but I also want students and knowledge to benefit from this. The maziyah of Muslim, one of the things that makes Muslims sahih really cool is the constant change of the sanad. He uses the ha a lot. This changing of the sanad, to kind of point it to a certain direction, a different direction, does it kind of come off as like a flex, so to speak?
Understood.
Right?
Understood. Clear. The question is clear.
Yeah.
Well, in general, no doubt, Ahlul Hadith, the authors, the compilers of those books, they're humans.
Yeah.
And of course, a human being every now and then has a what?
As a show.
Flex, just a bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Right.
Not for the arrogance or the pride, but like to show you, like, you know what I mean? This is what it is, young, you know what I mean?
Right.
Young blood or young buck.
I got it like that, yeah.
And you want it, you gotta
come, you gotta
work for it.
Yeah.
So the concept of the scholars of hadith, they would take pride in their accomplishments and their accolades,
right,
and the suffering that they went through. Like I said, not to show off, not to boast, but for the respect of the art.
Right.
And that's something that the Dawah needs today.
Yeah.
It needs some type of lifting of the bar of respect.
Quality control.
Yes. And taking pride in this is what we're saying and teaching.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So no doubt the different scholars of hadith, shorter chains. Imam Muslim is known for this.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't always necessarily have the shortest chains. Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala has many more, his chain in general is oftentimes shorter.
Yeah.
And there are many thulathiyat that Imam Bukhari has in his Sahih.
Yeah.
Okay, Imam Mohamed, so on and so forth. But what's important is Imam Muslim, Imam Muslim, he took a lot of pride in his book. And some scholars said it took him about 12 to 14 years to write it. And he wrote it in Nishapur, at home.
Yeah.
Very different than Bukhari.
Right.
He was at home in his library, in his study. So Imam Muslim was very, very meticulous, scrupulous.
Yeah.
One may say obsessive.
Right.
With every single...
With the detail.
Right. Not حدثنا, he said أخبرنا. All right. وهو كذا. وهو البصري. Imam Bukhari would just say فلان al-Basri. Right? Different styles. The Chinese versus the Japanese when it comes to the tea or the martial arts.
No doubt. And the expoundment of the student on the science.
Yes.
I think one thing that I love about Muslim is he laid out his order of operation. He said,
and his muqaddimah, no doubt.
This is me.
That's right.
And I think that also points to what you're saying regarding that he took pride in the fact that he did what he did. He said, this is what I'm doing, and my amal is, this is the manner in which it's being done.
That's right.
And if you're benefiting from it, then you're benefiting from my effort.
No doubt.
And pay homage.
That's right. You have to.
Versus Bukhari's, kind of.
And that's a part of the training of the student.
No doubt.
Like we said, is you have to respect it. And We go through a lot of different things today in the Dawah, in the world, in America, the United States, Midwest, East Coast, Canada, UK, and there are many causes behind it. And one of them is it's just every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately.
So let me ask you. Let me give you a counter to that. Do you think also that could lead to lack of access for people who otherwise really want to be part of this?
Yes and no.
Is that do you see it as a lack of access as a problem even?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's a problem, whereas, like you said, lack of access. It isn't available, but it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's only built for, you know what I mean? It's only made for certain people.
Right.
And you got no business playing with this or touching this.
Right.
Like that sword over there.
Yeah.
You know, you have no business touching a live blade, a sharp blade.
Right.
You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt somebody else.
Right.
It's not a plaything.
But a person who knows how to handle it.
Then it's totally accessible.
Yeah.
So it's only for certain people, and anyone who's suited for that, who's suitable for that, who's willing to make the sacrifice, to pay homage, to show respect, to break his pride,
Right.
to starve, to suffer, like you was getting me yesterday.
Yeah.
The stain I had on my throat.
Yeah.
Imam Malik said, La yasluhu lihadha shatni man hammuhu. He who worries about his belly being full,
Right.
or his garment being clean, he's too pretty.
Right.
He's not. It's not
Too much about the aesthetic.
It's not for you.
Right.
So it's accessible for those who are willing to go over those hurdles and obstacles, and it is totally 100% without no apologies. It is inaccessible. It's not made for the layman. It's not made for the beginner. It's not made for some fiqh, usuli, whatever type of guy. It's not made for you.
Right.
You have you can read this mukhtasar and khalas.
Right.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Right.
And I think that's a defense mechanism. It's like those different ancient relics, and, the maps and the different things is booby trapped.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's not made for.
Needless to mention, but the wall of academia that exists, I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to Islam, is that there is information that you don't have access to today, that is in a university museum under lock and key, constantly protected, but it's just like any other information. But the difference is they'll allow a guy who's in his PhD study to go and look at those things.
That's right.
Versus you, just a random guy, because you're not the type
you're
of person.
You're unworthy.
You're not. You're not the person.
Forget the misuse. You're unworthy.
You're unworthy of it. Yeah. And so people are fine accepting that when it comes to like
dunya, but not Islam.
Like this is the map that has Antarctica, and nobody can look at this. There's a manuscript from such and such time. When it comes to the hadith and the Quran and the Sunnah, it's like, hey man, I have a right to it.
I have to be
just as much of a right as a guy. Yeah,
and that's the pride, and that's the arrogance that those scholars of hadith, Bukhari, Muslim, they wanted to purge from the student.
Yeah. No, that's a real interesting thing. I think we need to combat from the point of view of people that are trying to study, people who are students of knowledge, and I think also it should be a source of encouragement for the average everyday Muslim to be like, yo, I gotta actually take this tradition, this academic tradition, more seriously. To change our topic a little bit, Mufti, you seem to have some. You seem to have some ittila', so that you came across a lot of information across different disciplines of studies. You have information regarding, you read your almanac on the lives. You look at a lot of different things. And when you talk, a lot of times, alhamdulillah, when you talk, you can see that you've benefited from these different sciences of study. How does a student of knowledge keep up with Islamic, stuff, and then like all the other stuff?
Where do you find the time?
Yeah,
the brothers, they say.
Where do you find the time?
But how the heck do you know?
Yeah,
you're reading about apple season and
there you go.
What is wrong?
Apple season, huh? No.
Understood. Well, sometimes I don't know myself.
Yeah.
Where I find the time or how I find the time. But I mean, to me, it's just like if I could just speak with you, like it's just burning passion.
Yeah. You just want to know.
I just can never get enough. Yeah. And I'm not praising myself, but the hadith states that, the type of people that would never be satisfied.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how knowledge is. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, you want to focus on the Quran and Sunnah, of course. Time is limited. You want to be stingy with your time, of course. But at the same time, me as a person, I'm just talking me as a person.
Yeah.
I mean, like, one of my greatest fears is being stuck somewhere with nothing to read. I would die, literally.
Yeah.
You know, people say I'm bored out of my mind. Me being somewhere with nothing to read. And I'm gonna tell you something with regards to some of my personal tribulations.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest with each other. You know how it is. Sometimes when you travel, you're in the airport or whatever, and you know you get the royals. You know, you get the special attention at the airport, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a time in which, when it first started happening to me, and they would take everything from you. So I would ask some of the guys. I said, "All right, I'm sitting here. You're going through all of my stuff. You're holding me up. Can I at least get my book? Can I read this?"
Yeah.
So one of the dudes, he said, "Sure, no problem." So the supervisor or the big honcho, he came and says, "No, he can't have any of his possessions while we're searching him, while we're looking through his stuff." So I'm sitting there like, you expect me to stand here, no shoes on, hard, and that to me is the punishment.
Yeah.
There was a time in which, you know, they were doing all the extra stuff. I had dollar bills that I was allowed to hold. I was reading a dollar bill. I wanted to find out something I didn't know on a dollar bill. So I can't see how people can just sit somewhere idly, sitting, not reading, studying anything, deen or dunya. And that's what Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, "Inni la akrahu an alqa ar-rajula farighan, la fi amali al-akhirah wa la fi amali ad-dunya." Aw kama qala radiallahu anhu. He says, I detest to see a man who's just wasting his time doing nothing.
Idle time.
Not the deen, what?
Or the dunya.
There you go. So to me, time is valuable. So I like to read other things. I like to study other things. And I believe in the concept of recycling. Is that what I'm reading in the almanac or the atlas or the map or Encyclopedia Britannica, somehow, some way, it's going to translate into Islamic studies. And that's because the deen and the dunya they're connected.
So.
And the Islamic studies and the worldly studies as well are what? They're connected. So one of the mashayikh, once he was explaining fiqh, and he was talking about how many fiqh rulings cannot be understood until you have understanding of the worldly rulings. So obviously some of the students, they were like, what? What do you mean? He said, in kathira min al-ahkam al-fiqhiyya, you have to know the what?
Ahkam dunyawiyya.
And so then he went on to prove his point. And he started speaking about puberty.
Right.
When is a person valid? When is a person mukallaf?
Right.
How do you know that? Except through the science and knowledge of what?
The science of biology. And,
there you go.
Anatomy.
Finding the qibla. Time for salat.
Geology, all this stuff.
Okay, astronomy, whatever you want to call it. The concept of the stars, the constellations, the moon. Okay, and then you start talking about foods. What foods you can and cannot eat. How old the sheep or the lamb has to be. Mutton, a ewe. And if you think about it, you sit down, there are countless ahkam, which is a necessity to have the what?
That they come together.
Let alone history. My favorite subject.
Yeah.
So one of the main and most consistent themes of the Quranic Kareem, without any doubt, is the rise and the fall of nations. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Ad.
Yeah.
Thamud.
Of course.
Fir'aun. Ashab al-Mu'tafikat.
All of that.
Ashab al-Rasi wa Thamud. So if you talk about the rise and fall of nations, that's the Atlas. That's the Britannica. That's the economy, the technology, all of the different religions and faiths, all of that stuff, it all what?
Yeah, exactly. It all comes together.
So of course there's a balance. You can't just do it haphazardly.
And I think also the separation of the two sciences, or even it being called two different sciences.
That's right, like Nahu and Sarf. And in reality, there you go.
They need each other.
There you go. So of course there's a priority that you have to make.
Yeah.
Of course you have to prioritize. I'm not going to tell somebody in the beginning of their studies.
Yeah.
You know, nor am I saying that I'm advanced and I've made it, but I've been studying it for some time now.
Yeah.
The reality is
exactly. The reality is what it is.
And last but not least, sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
Ibn al-Qayyim. Let's move forward. We don't go any deeper into the rabbit hole.
Inshallah. Okay, and another thing that I noticed about you, Mufti, is you HadithDisciple.
Take cover.
Yeah, man. I'm on your tail.
Allah al-Mustaan. May Allah hide the faults.
No. I know I don't really like to praise people in front of their face. It's not something that I relish doing, especially not to you, Mufti. But one thing that I did notice, especially in our Umrah trip, because we were together like inseparable for like 10 days straight. But one thing I realized is that your exposure So let's say that word, exposure to the Quran and tafsir is not what I expected. I told you this last night as well. A lot of du'at, sadly, asaf al-shadid, do not have the malaka of the Quran as much as other people do. Somebody else that I noticed this with is Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Badr. I read a book, I read a few of his books, and you will find, mashallah, his Mahalul Istidlal is beautiful. Ayahs that would commonly be used by people for this specific thing, he brings another ayah. But the one that he brought is more fitting.
Out of the box.
And it's out of the box stuff.
But at the same time, it is in the box.
Exactly. No, it's the most befitting sometimes, as where other people use something. With you, same thing. I noticed that you have a good malaka of the Quran. So this is unrelated to HadithDisciple, maybe QD, Quran Disciple, huh? What's your Quran routine like? If it's not too much to ask you to, yeah.
Understood. Well, obviously this is rooted in the hadith culture. Imam Bukhari's book, oftentimes when he quotes any hadiths, is the ayat.
Right.
All right. And oftentimes, if you notice, he'll quote the salaf and the tafsir of those ayat.
Right.
And Imam Bukhari, another gem from his book, is that he makes the interpretation of the used words in the hadith with their synonyms in the Quran. Or synonym may be a bad word, but with
the mushtaqat of it.
Right, and how it's used in the Quran and the mirror effect.
Exactly.
So I think this is one of the things that I learned from Bukhari and from other scholars of hadith, is that, like you said, they go hand in hand, and the Quran is strength and power. As Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us, وَجَاهِدُهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا. Fight them with this book vigorously. Use it. It's a strong weapon. It's a powerful tool. So this is something, alhamdulillah, Allah had guided me to early on. As far as some of my routine, then obviously a man such as yourself, I'm not going to answer that fully. But I believe in combined arms element. Talk about military jargon or military doctrine. That
overwhelm.
That yes, and the modern warfare is not just people running out on a battlefield screaming with clubs and sticks, but now there's the Navy and it's the Air Force. Okay, rather
submarines,
underground, so on and so forth. So you have to do that with regards to the Quran. It's something that I try to do. You have to read it. You have to listen to it. You have to see it. You have to see other people reading it. And you, of course, you have your daily portions, your wird, the hizb, or how much you're reading between a salah or whatever the case may be. So the mu'min, the Muslim, is always going to try to finish the Quran at least once a month. So as we know, so at least. Okay, all right. Can you do it in a shorter period of time? Twice a month? Can you do it in a shorter period of time? 4 times a month?
Once every 3 days, something like this.
The different technical discussion on what's lawful, but you have to have a certain portion of Quran that every day you're doing what?
That you're reading.
All right. If you've memorized the Quran, if Allah has blessed you to become a hafiz of the Quran, then of course you got to stay up on that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he tells us to review the Quran because the Quran can be lost and it can leave a person faster than an untied camel. Ibn Abdul Barr, we were just talking about this the other night. He said regarding this hadith, تعاد القرآن فإنه أوفى والذي نفسي بيده له أشد تفلتا من صاحبه من الإبل في عقلها. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said فإذا كان هذا الشأن في القرآن الميسر فما بالك بسائر العلم. If the Quran that Allah sent down and that is miraculously sent down and made easy to be all right, the men who have been given knowledge, the sudur al-alameen, then what do you think about the other things? So you got to review the Quran of what you've memorized. And obviously you can review it with a companion, you can review it with a teacher, and you can review it listening to it as well. And I'm a big believer in multitasking. And I remember when I was younger, I was in Philadelphia. One of my early teachers, he whenever we were in a Dawah center, okay, he would always have the tapes playing. This was before the CD era. So some of the brothers in the Dawah center, they would start laughing at him. They would laugh at him. Like, he always listening. He's listening to something while he's using the bathroom. And he was like, don't laugh. He says because some of the imams of hadith and the salaf, they would do this.
Yeah.
And I didn't, reject what he said, but it was groundbreaking. Like,
it was new.
Like, really? And I remember he opened up a book and he was trying to show some of the brothers, and I didn't really catch it what book it was. And I remember when I read it myself.
Yeah.
Abu Hatim al-Razi and his son. Okay.
They
and
have him sitting outside.
Yeah, and he was saying that he would go to relieve himself. What? Aqra'u alayhi. So I think a good habit for brothers and sisters to establish, and something I've tried to establish with the Quran and other things, is always be listening to it.
Yeah.
And even if you can't sit down and focus on 100%, have it playing.
Yeah.
When you sleep, when you wake up, when you do different things in which your attention or you may be doing, and that's not disrespectful to the Quran.
No.
You understand what I'm trying to say? And there are different elements and different levels.
Yeah.
So me personally, I try my best, and of course there's always a need for great improvement.
Yeah.
But I try my best to attack my mind from all aspects. With regards to, like you said, having a good control and a good relationship with regards to the hifd and being able to quote it.
Yeah, being able to quote it. That's what I mean. And that was the next question I was going to ask you.
Bang.
So go ahead, finish up.
So the point is that brothers, they say, oh, he's half of the Quran, he memorized Quran, alhamdulillah. But when you ask him in a lecture, in a class, let me hear you quote it.
Let me hear you quote it, exactly.
What good is it if it... So, that's always been my mentality, is that the Quran is used for your personal ibadah, your salah. It's used for dawah. And if you can talk to non-Muslims and they see you quoting your holy book, your scripture,
like
by heart, in the original language, then switch into English,
you won.
Khalas.
Yeah.
No doubt about
Yeah.
it. This dude is whack at that.
Yeah.
Jump aboard. Be a Muslim. You get what I'm trying to say? And there's no other religion like that.
That was one of the things that I remember used to really, really help with, because I spent a lot of time doing in-person street da'wah, like da'wah tables and things like that.
Okay.
And so anytime that people, I would notice that whenever I would quote an ayah or a hadith or something like this in the Arabic language, it wasn't a novelty kind of thing. It was actually something that that had an effect on those people. It had an actual effect on them. The next question that I wanted to ask you, Mufti, is which one is more important, istihdar or hifz?
Well, are they different, like you said?
Or are they different?
You want to get philosophical?
Yeah.
Are they two different entities? You get what I'm trying to say?
Because I have istihdar.
You can't do the istihdar unless you have hifz.
I disagree.
For real, if you look at it,
I disagree.
How you going to quote it unless you have the hifz?
Okay, here's what I mean, right? There are things that you passively, information that you passively absorb.
That's what I mean by seeing it, hearing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's a lot of information that you constantly are being, is being given to you. Is thrown at you constantly, especially when it comes to a person. Like, for example, there's a lot of people who listen to your lectures, or a person who listens to a lot of lectures. You have over, I think, maybe over 100,000 hours, maybe perhaps, or definitely over 1,000 hours of content that you've posted on YouTube. A person goes through that and listens to it, right? There are certain bits of information that you repeat. The iron shoes.
That's right. From one thing to 10,000 things.
That's it, right? Then there are information that is constantly new, so you have to hear that again. What I'm trying to say is, a person hears that information, is exposed to it, then later on they can use that. They have istihdar. See what I'm saying? So that's the argument that I'm making.
Okay, like the subconscious istihdar.
I
can come up, I can pull it out,
exactly.
I can whip it out.
So I'm giving a lecture and I remember something.
Understood.
Didn't even rehearse it or read it before.
All right, so we're on the same page.
Right.
I didn't intend to quote this.
Right.
Or to say this.
And it was
fact that just came up.
Revealed to me.
Okay, so it is what it is, right? It is what?
It is what it is. So
at the end of the day, I think that the problem, the glitch, the supposed glitch between me and you here is the usage of the word istihdar.
Okay.
So when I think about the word istihdar, obviously the scene and the ta.
Yeah.
Talab. Astahdiru.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it out.
Aywa.
And you're just saying, I just happened to reach for it.
Right.
So tomato.
Nah.
So at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer of subconsciously giving yourself all of that ilm and all that information. And when the time is right, with the proper training, it'll come up. You don't gotta think moment, about it
when you need it.
And no question about that.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, and that's a must. Like you said, for dawah. And there lies no doubt that's going to have a strong influence on your listener. Like, dang, we were talking about the fiqh of wiping over the socks, and he says September is the season when they grow this type of apple. Like, oh, kedalil. Without you having to think. And I think overthinking your knowledge, overthinking your delivery is a bad thing. Yes, you have to think sometimes. You have to concentrate sometimes, of course. Sometimes you have to plan out and lay out what you want to talk about. But sometimes just what?
Yeah, exactly. You got to let it
rip. But that only comes from somebody that's in the dojo. You understand?
Somebody that's doing mumarasa.
Yeah, that's practicing the cut and the block and the parry. So the actual sword fight, it ain't. I am not thinking about it.
There you go.
You get what I'm trying to say?
I had a basketball coach tell me once regarding the jump shot. And the thing with me is when I play basketball, I have a really good looking jump shot.
MashaAllah.
But I miss a lot.
The form is nice though.
The form it's pretty. It gets off the right way. It feels right when it's going up, but it's a brick.
Okay.
And so the coach is telling me, hey, listen, you're not practicing the form enough. The form looks good. You got it, but you're just not seeing it go in the hoop enough times. So I remember one time one summer I locked in and I was shooting maybe 1,000 shots a day and it was going in. So the confidence of seeing the shot go in, it affects the way that you shoot now.
Your psyche.
Yeah, it affects your psyche. Cause and it's the same thing when you miss your first shot coming in the gym versus you made your first shot that morning.
That's right.
It's like a whole different day. Unrelated to obviously the basketball, but that was just an analogy for the concept of memorization and bringing it up.
Same concept.
Yeah. So
the formless
regarding
only comes after one has spent many years out of his life learning
in a form.
The form.
In a form. This and I wanted to segue into the concept of the madhab, the study of hadith. You find that the scholars of hadith are from a bunch of different backgrounds in terms of madhab. See what I'm saying?
I hear you.
You have.
I hear you shaking.
You have Hanafi ulama that are like, this guy knew a lot about hadith. You have Al-Hafiz al-Zayla'i mathalan. You have scholars that were like Maliki that were like, okay, they did some headway into and then you have some scholars that were like, Shafi'i,
Of course.
Last but not least, right? So my question is, and you've mentioned this a lot of times. You talked about it in a lot of your Q&As and stuff like that. But I'm only asking you this. Because I want to know from a different angle. I want you to address it from a different angle. But the concept of the clash between dalil and qawl.
Understood. Right. Well,
to explain to the listeners, dalil meaning the proof in and of itself, and then the qawl being the statement of the scholar, or the opinion, quote unquote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it like this. No doubt that the different madhabs, that's a momentous discussion, and the clash of the different madhabs and the different schools together. Of course, all of the madhabs, they're trying to base their argument off of dalil. Whatever that dalil may be.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any madhab in which a person is just talking out of his neck from his desires. They're trying to get to a point. They're trying to show this is what Allah wants from us.
Yeah.
Allah wants us to do this in this manner, in this light, in this way. How do we get there? How do we figure it out? What's the proof? What's the evidence? So on and so forth.
Okay.
All right. So that's first and foremost. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people have bad thoughts of the different imams. The Hanafis, Abu Hanifa, he didn't love the proof. He didn't want the evidence. He was a person of desires. He just wanted to, laysa hakada. La yuqal hakada. Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, how could he say this? The hadith is clear. The people of Medina. It's a reason why. Whether you agree with that or not, but there is a reason. All right, so I think that's first and foremost. All right, so sometimes an imam, he makes an opinion, he says something, he's asked about a thing, he does something, and it's clearly traced back to the clear-cut dalil. Obviously, whether that's the Quran, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the two primary sources.
Let me stop you right there for a second. Dalil is different based on who you ask. Who you ask. What you consider dalil
may not be dalil to the next person.
Sunnah, you got other things. But before, I know I kind of got in there. What I mean is, a lot of people who are living don't know that dalil isn't just.
Yes, they need to be taught that.
Yeah.
So that when I'm talking about usul al-fiqh, every single Muslim should know the basic rudiments of usul al-fiqh.
Of what creates the ruling.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. The basic, right. The Muslim, every 9-to-5 Muslim should know the basics of qawaid fiqhiyya.
Yeah.
I'm not a scholar.
Right.
I'm a businessman. I work.
Right.
You know, I like making money.
So they don't get tricked.
But I can't be walking around like a Christian.
Okay.
There is no to go to the church or the cathedral once in life. So
makes sense.
So that's the fault of the learned people.
Yeah, but where you were at, you were talking about a specific scholar bringing a evidence.
Right, so that's the primary evidence.
Clear cut. Sometimes they get to the clear cut.
That's the primary evidence.
Okay.
And then other times it's secondary evidence. Okay, whether that is what the people of Medina did.
Yeah.
Or what a Sahabi did.
Right.
Or qiyas.
Or istishad.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that more classes need to be given on usul fiqh and what is dalil. And even if you don't agree with it, the hadith is da'if, you think that it can't be used, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't believe that the hadith can be used.
Exactly.
So one of the main reasons why there's khilaf is what is or what isn't.
Yeah, what is considered dalil? What is considered dalil? And another thing I think a lot of people don't also take into account, sometimes even scholars don't take into account, is that what could be considered dalil for a person on a personal level is different.
That's right. What makes me make my decision.
We're talking about Islam is one thing. That's like jamid. That's decided. We have rules. We have regulations. It's an academic process, and we got to the conclusion. How do I convince you? That's an entirely different thing. You see what I'm saying? What you consider dalil? What? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's a detailed discussion, and of course the main focus and the respect is going to be placed on the two primary sources. Yeah. And it should be that way.
Yeah.
But under any circumstance, does that mean that ijma' or qawl sahabi or like you said, those other principles, al-istihsan, al-istishab, masalih mursala, all of that is important, especially when we're talking about state, functioning, a system. So I think there has to be levels of prioritizing the dalil, no doubt about that. And there are some types of dalil which are unacceptable, but that's going to differ from what person to person. And what actually gets you to get up and do it? What are the bawa'ith? Like a person may hear this is the dalil, but they don't have that fear. You gotta. The Prophet is saying, or a person doesn't have the love, or a person is missing. Usul al-fiqh is very important, especially in the United States. And in the world. But we're talking about our country. And so I think the bar needs to be raised on usul. So
how do we make Islam more? Well, we can't make Islam more anything. But what I'm saying is, how do we market it to be a more? Because America's real pragmatic.
Strength.
It's real like action.
Strength. The Muslims, like you said, they gotta flex more. And they gotta show that. They
show the shoulder.
That's right. That's a clear dalil.
Daridda.
إنه يقدم عليكم قوم وهنتهم حمى يثرب. These guys are beaten down by the desert. The Prophet said, show them your muscles. Show them that you do have in it. Show them the morale. So I think that many of us were just too weak, scared, apologetic. You know, we're worried about working, saving money, paying the mortgage, paying student loans, blah, 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 trying to, get the scraps from the Kufar's table for the American dream. Instead of showing Muslims, we take pride in our deen. I'm not scared to pray in public. That's right. There you go. There you go. That honor. Is nothing I have to. Why are you Muslim? Why are you not a Muslim? Me praying in public is rather, not only is that my deen, but that's the American way. Freedom. This is not no other country. We're supposed to be free, right? We're supposed to be free. What you're trying to force on me is lack of religious freedom. So strength. So the Muslims, they got to flex. And obviously a big part of flexing comes from the knowledge. You knowing the law. You knowing the Islamic law. And you knowing what they're supposed to be doing as Christians or Jews or Hindus. You're not even following your own religion, bro. So don't talk to me about mine. Okay? You don't know nothing about your stuff. Let me school you on. You know what I'm saying?
It's actually crazy when the opposite happens to Muslims. It's sad. I've seen it happen.
Weakness.
I've seen it happen where a person's saying, when do you pray?
Crazy. Ain't you supposed to pray? You ain't supposed to be in there smoking and drinking with us? It's deep, man. I'm gonna tell you a crazy story. I was on an airplane once, and I had my little satchel or whatever with me. I had my tea. I'm a tea fanatic, a tea addict, or whatever.
Disciple.
That's right. So. I had a glass cup, and the cup, it looked like it, or I guess you could say it was like a shot glass. you drink whiskey or scotch out of it. But obviously we don't. Alhamdulillah, we don't drink alcohol. That's haram, major sin.
The cups are pure.
So I got my tea. I had my tea, my hot tea, and I'm poured it in a glass. Non-Muslim lady walks past me. She's giving out the pretzels, the peanuts, blah blah. And she said, Are you drinking alcohol?
Yeah.
That's not alcohol, is it? I said, no, it's just tea. She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Crazy.
She's gonna bring me up on my deen.
Yeah.
Muslims ain't supposed to drink.
Yeah.
Let alone dress the way you dressed.
Hey, well.
So you get the moral of the story.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
imagine if I was,
I know you're not drinking,
I had a little
kind of thing.
gin or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
SubhanAllah.
It's deep.
It's
And it's sad when, and that's when that narration of some of the Salaf will make. Allahumma la taj'al ghayri as'ada bima 'allamtani. Oh Allah, don't make someone else happier with the knowledge that you taught me than me.
Yeah.
That's sad. You know the ilm.
Yeah.
You know the right way.
Somebody else is taking you.
As'ad bihi.
Yeah.
And that's something that has happened too many times to us as Muslims, unfortunately.
That brings me to another question regarding teaching. Spreading knowledge, giving information to other people, teaching. It's a process that is necessary for the development of like the next generation of scholarship, right? At what point does a person start teaching?
When do you start teaching? Understood. Well, I think oftentimes you start teaching when you have a basic level of proficiency in what you have been taught, even if it's just one book, even if it's just one class, even if it's just one skill set, right? And a part of that is you giving back to the teacher, you giving back to the dojo or whatever,
right?
You practicing, you reviewing, okay. But at the same time, you don't make yourself a full-time teacher until you've reached a certain level in which your teacher says you're not allowed to have a small halaqah.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to, so on and so forth. So I think it's a yes and a no. Should a student be teaching? No, because he's a student. But at the same time, he helps out the main teachers.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? I had teachers in Medina that were working on their PhDs, working on their magistrate. They finished their magistrate. They weren't PhD holders yet, and they would tell you, "I'm studying. I'm doing this for my PhD. The exam is going to be easy."
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Or help me out with this or this. Do this research.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with it, but for a certain level, you can't go from zero to teaching the next day. It don't work like that. But you don't gotta be at the top rank to be a teacher. There are levels of teaching.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say?
I get it 100%. Also, there's a difference between a person teaching and a person giving a lecture, and a person teaching something that's beyond his weight, your pay grade. His weight.
Like you said, you got no business touching that. You're not even supposed to be picking that sword up.
Yeah.
It's too heavy.
Exactly.
It's too long.
Exactly.
And for sure, it's too sharp. You're going to lose a few digits.
Yeah.
Trying to be a samurai. You're going to play yourself. So you have no business teaching. But the wooden swords, this basic form, tafaddal. You're helping me out. And okay, if we talk about a dojo, the main teacher, the main sensei, whatever, he's not gonna have time to teach all of the people a boxing gym. Well, American culture, you don't gotta be mystical, Asian stuff about. I have different people that I'm training. Yeah. So I'm on a heavy bag with him. I'll be right back. He's doing this. Yeah. And this boxer that's been with me for a couple of years, he takes in a new guy straight off the street.
Right.
And that's all a part of the family.
Yeah.
And they're all under this one trainer in this one gym.
Yeah. The interesting thing is the Somali culture, the halaqah culture in our history, we would have something like that where you have the main sheikh that's teaching the kitab, and you have an underling kind of like a.
That's right.
And what he does is, say a new student wants to join, he's like, yo, catch him up.
That's right.
Get him on the level we on.
For so many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One,
he doesn't have time.
There you go. Let alone you're unworthy
to sit with him.
His advance.
Yeah.
And it's all a part of the duxi or the dojo, whatever you want to call it. Exactly. So I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that. But the problem is that it tastes good. What did Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu say? And others, they were quoted to say, he says, "Man alladhi la yuhibbu an yuzayyina kalamahu linnas." Who doesn't? Yeah. The one who's claiming that it doesn't feel good to be. You're not keeping it real, bro. So the ego, and let alone the social media, the sisters, the girls, the women, the people, mashallah, mashallah. Next thing you know, you get inflated.
Yeah.
And your ratio of studying is now less than teaching. Dawah podcast, but your tahsil is what? Getting
it's getting smaller.
Your followers,
you're not making time for yourself to gain any information.
More followers, more women, more money, more monetizing, blah 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 blah.
And it catches up to you. That's one thing I realized, is that when you're doing so much da'wah, it catches up to you, because the 7 eyes that you had on rotation start to start to end up.
That's right.
Your set doesn't last anymore.
Let alone you get weaker.
Yeah.
So I think balance and control.
Comedians talk about something similar to this, where like they have their hour set.
Okay.
All of their best jokes for that hour.
Understood.
They do it for 1 year, another year. By year 3, people are not laughing anymore because it's not current events. Right. It's not. That the sense of humor has changed.
You got to refresh.
You've been outgrown by the audience, and it's the same sometimes with da'wah, where you find people. I mean, the Quran is the Quran, and the Hadith is the Hadith, and yet it's everlasting. But your da'wah, your style gets outgrown by the audience.
Yeah, you got to keep. You got to update it.
Yeah.
But like you said,
but you also need to have new information.
That's right.
It can't be the same 7 eyes you're using every single time.
So you got to stay sharp.
Yeah.
But we talking about somebody that never. We talking about a sword that was never even properly forged.
Yeah.
Let alone polished, let alone sharpened, let alone
blunt.
Here you go. Yeah. So you shouldn't be giving dawah and teaching so much more than you've studied and been trained yourself properly.
Right.
So it's two extremes. Mm-hmm. You can't give no dawah until 20 years. Yeah. Some people say Imam Malik said this. I didn't give fatwa until 100 scholars in Medina. We're not living in those times.
Yeah.
And there's a need for basic dawah.
Yeah.
The man on the street, he don't need to hear this technical thing, basic knowledge. But at the same time, don't get beside yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't turn into a full-time da'i, a full-time teacher, and you have not completed your studies.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is the Sahaba were masters of staying in their lane.
Allah Akbar.
And that's one of the things that you really appreciate.
It's hard.
That's why they were
staying in the lane is hard.
That's why they were Salaf.
That's why the car got the lane.
Yeah, lane assist.
Yeah, it's difficult.
That's a beautiful analogy.
It's different,
that's a beautiful
man.
analogy. Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, staying in your own lane is hard. Difficult.
You got to.
Yeah, especially if you're going higher speeds. The higher the speed,
that's right.
It is harder to maintain. Okay, so inshallah we'll conclude with this last portion that I wanna ask you about. It's kind of a question. And I don't know how you're gonna feel answering this, but you do answer a lot of questions online, and this is, I don't know if you've ever addressed this, but speaking of staying in their lanes, people staying in their lanes,
it's hard.
The
human being,
yeah,
so the human being that stayed in his lane is a task.
Yeah. Okay. So the concept of academia, I think there's a lot of disdain from people who studied through the Western academia for individuals, not like yourself specifically, but people, the traditionals.
I get it.
And then people who yourself included went through a mix of the traditional and the academic process, but that academic is more, like Medina, right? Mm-hmm. Versus Georgetown.
Understood.
Versus University of Chicago. Then you have a guy who went through the halaqah process. So my question is not necessarily related to the differences and the benefits. That's everyday talk.
Discussion, right?
The disdain,
pride, arrogance,
right?
You're a product of your salaf. Likulli qawmin warith. You're a descendant of those arrogant Orientalists.
Yeah.
You're a descendant of those, atheists, those people that freed themselves from Christianity and the church. You're. Let's keep it real. I'm not saying this about everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not broad brushing, but you're a disciple of those Masons.
Yeah. Or you're exposed to that sickness at the very least.
No doubt.
At the very least.
You ate from their table.
Yeah.
You were weaned from their breast.
Yeah.
So that milk is it nourished your body. Yeah. And the weird thing about that is, if you look at the founding fathers of those different universities and those societies, they themselves were students of the tradition. There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So how does gold become bronze? How do people lose? It's human nature, right?
Yeah.
But the people, let's keep it real. The pride is a reality, and it's on both sides.
Yeah.
I studied in Medina, I studied in Azhar, I studied in Morocco, wherever I studied. So this college boy, this college academic guy knows nothing, has nothing, is nothing.
Yeah.
And an academic guy, all you did was just memorize. All you did was just sit in the halaqah and that's it. You don't know nothing about that.
You just memorized. You don't have.
So one of the first principles of ninjutsu is never to underestimate any foe. Never look down upon a foe. And obviously, you know, in history, some of the worst defeats in history have been based off of we're looking better than them. Yeah. They don't have the courage. They don't have. And look what happened. Look where we at. Yeah. They were humbled. Yeah. So that's a big problem. By the way, that's one of the main lessons from the Battle of Midway. Yeah. Was that disdain for their opponents. And they didn't think that they had the courage that they had, and we all know they did. Who was humbled. Yeah. So the moral of the story is that if you're a scholar of Islam, if you're a student of Islam, you're not supposed to have that pride in your heart, period. Yeah. Period. Even if you feel that their way is inferior, or if you feel that their study method is inferior, but this person, you don't know what he know. Yeah. You don't know what he read. Right. You don't know what he's doing on his extra hours outside of college. Exactly. You don't know what I've studied outside of Medina University. So why stereotype me? Yeah. He's a traditional Saudi, Wahhabi, Salafi guy. He don't know. Next thing you know, oh shoot, dang. See, you played yourself. Yeah. You played yourself. So never play yourself. All right. Never look down upon a person. Never think that you're the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And that's why we always say it's not the move, but the movement. Yeah. Azhar, Medina, same difference. Even among the traditional stuff. Exactly. Oh yeah, there's a lot of that. Just the scoring. Yeah. If you didn't study in Egypt, you don't know Quran. There's a lot of that. Your lugha is weak. You're this, you're that. You're tajweed. You're not saying the dad correctly. Yeah. You're saying mustaqim instead of mustaqim, etc. They're scoring. Yeah. They look down upon people. Exactly. And the people in Medina, oftentimes, they look down on the people in Egypt. Yeah. Oh, you guys are this, Ash'ari that, you have this, Taqleed this, Shafi'i that, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. So I think you have to get rid of that pride and that arrogance and get rid of scorning others. And learn to, like you said, stay in your lane. Medina's good for you. Egypt's good for me. Yeah. And learn to take the good and to respect the other schools and the other styles. And that's martial arts as well.
The opposite also happens, though, sometimes, where the disdain is turned from the traditional Islamic studies people to the colleges and universities, because they see that process is not something that is not beneficial at all.
Yeah, like I said, it's both. So it's opposite. They're guilty on both sides.
So they're like, oh yeah, you went to such and such university in America.
What the heck do you know?
What did you know?
That's right. Yeah. And that's a mistake. Okay. Are there flaws in the academic, in Western academia? No doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
There's no perfect system,
really. Blocks, but we're talking about major problems.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But that don't mean that there's no beneficial ways, and that there aren't any intellectuals among them.
Yeah, definitely.
And true intellectuals. Most importantly, the two warring armies, the two sides. That doesn't mean that there's no courage on the other side.
On the other side,
they're heroes on what?
On both sides, exactly.
And they're champions. Yeah. They're great swordsmen on what?
On both sides, exactly.
So don't think you're the only one that that believes in your cause, and that's a flaw. I think I learned that from history.
Yeah, mashallah. Give me your Mount Rushmore.
My Mount Rushmore
your
of
Mount
who?
Rushmore.
Of what?
Your Mount Rushmore
of Islamic scholars.
Should I make it specific or should I make it general? I'm thinking. Let me just get a Mount Rushmore.
Allah.
It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what
in general.
Okay, give me your Mount Rushmore in general.
Okay.
Dunya, akhirah. Look at everything holistically.
Understood.
Give me your four.
They gotta be separated. They can't be together.
Khalas, give me
too many.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. Give me Mount Rushmore of scholarship, Islamic scholarship. Give me your Mount Rushmore of statesmen.
Understood.
Because you're a history guy.
Clear. Okay. As far as Islamic scholarship, a Mount Rushmore, that's a hard question.
I know.
Definitely Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah. There's no question about that. It's difficult. You put me in a difficult situation. Ibn Abdul Barr.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
No question about
Ibn Abdul Barr. Some Hanbali, Maliki in there.
La shak.
I'm waiting for my Shafi'i.
I'm going to take...
You know what? Don't let me get to you.
Just because
do your thing.
So I'm going to say Ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah ta'ala. I'm going to say Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah ta'ala. you already know the rest is easy to fill up. You know what I'm saying? Whether you like it or not. If Ibn Taymiyyah is not in your Mount Rushmore, then I don't know what you drinking or smoking. Say for what it is.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Okay.
If he's not in your Mount Rushmore,
then you're missing something.
I don't know what's in your morning tea. You get what I'm trying to say? But I didn't want to start off with that traditional stuff.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? So we talking about let's do out of the box Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Okay.
So
give me out of the box.
All right, no problem.
Give Ibn Taymiyyah out of there.
Clear. Okay. Out of the box.
Because we know where he's at with
clear,
you.
Clear. That's there's no
you're a Medina guy. We know what you're on.
There's no doubt. I take pride in that.
Yeah.
No doubt about
Mashallah.
that. That's the Sphinx by himself. Single Mount Rushmore.
Right.
All jokes aside, Imam al-Tahawi, rahimahullah. No doubt about that.
Okay.
And not even from the Aqidah aspect. We're talking about just hadith.
Nah.
What he did for fiqh hadith.
Oh, yeah.
Fiqh sunnah.
Yeah.
Ma'an al-athar. Mushkil al-athar. People, they sleep on Tahawi.
Definitions.
And the beauty of Tahawi's work pertaining to the hadith culture is that he's mutaqaddim. He's early. He's before Ibn Abdul Barr. He's before this one. He's before that one. He's mutaqaddim. So if I had to put for fiqh sunnah, fiqh al-hadith, no doubt a Tahawi. So we got a Tahawi, the Hanafis, Ibn Abdul Barr, Malikis,
Ibn
Rajab, obviously from a later generation, but oftentimes slept on with regards to the Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim, so on and so forth. And of course,
why Ibn Rajab over Ibn Jawzi?
Why Ibn Rajab over Ibn al-Jawzi? Several reasons. Okay. One, even though they were both great hadith scholars, to me, Ibn Rajab's style, the fluidity of his style, the uniqueness of his style, and one of the greatest things about Ibn Rajab's legacy is just athar, salafi, athari.
Yeah.
You're not going to read any book except that he's quoting 10, 20 athar of the salaf.
Yeah.
Zuhd, ibadah,
no matter what
hadith, fiqh. And so, and some scholars, they say that Ibn Rajab's Fath al-Bari would have outdone Ibn Hajar's Fath al-Bari if it wasn't destroyed or lost. Who knows, by the Mongols, Baghdad, we don't know.
But the portion that survived did
it's crazy
enough damage.
No question. Now, do I agree with that statement? I didn't say that. Ibn Hajar's Fath al-Bari, I never said I said that. Some scholars,
but it did its due damage. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
You're safe here. You're safe.
Ibn Hajar's Fath al-Bari has a special place in my heart. There's no doubt about it.
So we got Ibn Rajab.
Ibn Rajab, even though it's from a different generation later.
Ibn Abdul Barr.
Ibn Abdul Barr.
And Imam
Tahawi. Now, my Shafi'i guy.
Do whatever you want.
Keep it real.
Do whatever you want. But we'll welcome it.
Understood. You want my Shafi'i, Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
Man. Noe. And the reason why I didn't want to say Noe is because obviously Noe is a household icon.
With
the Ibn
Everybody got the 40 in their house.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But if you're talking about of the Shafi'is, but I mean, it's just hard to go past him.
Between him and him.
And I will say something very interesting. Last but not least, my advice to the different listeners and the watchers and the viewers, the students, whoever, is don't think that the Aqidah discussion of Noe is that sweet. If you really research Noe's life, you're going to find, not saying that he didn't say this, not saying that, but you'll be shocked with some of his last words.
And it's not as black and white as people make it out to be.
But from his last things that he wrote, you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked. Al-Muhim, Noe may be a little, cliche-ish.
Yeah.
So if we had to pick a different Shafi'i.
No, but there's a reason why he's cliched. I respect it.
Of course.
I respect it.
But we talking about the Mount Rushmore thing. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's hard. That's a hard question, though. But definitely those first three.
Okay.
That are slept on.
The fourth one is we'll chisel someone out later on.
If I had to pick a Shafi'i alim for my Mount Rushmore, my top, that's unorthodox, out of the box, not a common household name, icon or whatever, is definitely Ibn al-Iraqi. And Tarh al-Tathrib, Sharh al-Taqrib is one of my favorite books of hadith explanation, no doubt about that. And unfortunately, it's a slept on work. When you read Tarh al-Tathrib, if you're a fiqh sunnah person, it's literally unreal. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So if I had to pick a Shafi'i representative from Mount Rushmore, it definitely would be Ibn al-Iraqi. May Allah have mercy upon him and his father. Yeah.
We'll figure it out, inshallah.
For sure.
Okay, the second one, Statesman. Inshallah, we'll close with that. Give me your top 4 Mount Rushmore statesmen. throughout history, and then give me like small advice, inshallah. I'll close off right there. I think we're coming up on an hour and something.
Definitely Ho Chi Minh.
Okay.
For sure. Ho Chi Minh was a unique individual as a statesman. And even though he didn't see the outcome of the Vietnam War, but thing about Ho Chi Minh, among others, in Vietnam, they were fighting for decades. It didn't start or end with the Americans.
Yeah.
They fought the Chinese,
for sure,
Japanese, the French. You understand?
The troubled plot of land.
There you go. And the whole concept of our country needs to be united. Our country needs to be unified. And most importantly, who's offering us the best deal for support and help? Was Ho Chi Minh a communist? I'm not saying nothing bad or good about communism or communists, but we're just trying to say, was
he just trying to let his people?
They offered me the best
assistance. Yeah, I get it.
That's what it is. So I think that's a very important lesson for any statesman, is to always look after his flock the most.
Yeah,
you get what I'm trying to say? All right, that's number one. Number two, with regards to worldly statesmen, somebody may get angry with this, but I'm gonna say Kublai Khan. And one of the reasons why I say Kublai Khan is Kublai Khan was also open-minded, and you'd be shocked at the people that he had in his court. Okay, the Muslims in his court.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked at the different advisors. You'd be shocked at some of the coinage of Kublai Khan, and there are coins that have been accurately found, that were part of his empire and dynasty that had Arabic on there. Yeah. And one of the treasurers of Kublai Khan was a man whose name was Faisal Ajal. And it was written on Kublai's coin in Arabic. Think about that. How many other leaders can you say that? That had the tolerance, the respect, and the dependence and reliance upon people of different faiths, let alone Muslims. Think about that.
You said something beautiful the one time we talked about the Mongols, and you said, the usage of the Mongol culture of acceptance.
No question.
In the modern world.
No, there was nothing like that in the West.
Statecraft. Just
of course. We're talking about state, not religion. What's beneficial for
statecraft?
No doubt about that. So if I say Ho Chi Minh, if I say Kublai Khan, where we at now? How many we got left?
Two. We got two more.
We got two more left.
We got two more.
This is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Of statesmen
in history.
Man. Gotta say it. It's hard, man. You put me in a real.
I know. I gave it. Corner. That's why I gave you the last two, the two hardest questions. I knew the other stuff was easy.
Man, Toussaint Louverture, Haiti. No doubt, the Black Spartacus. Yeah. It was tragic. His demise. What happened to him in the end. Or you talking about starting from nothing to the top. And manipulating the politics. One day we allies with the French. One day we allies with the Spanish. One day we fighting the French. What's most beneficial for us?
For the statecraft.
These slaves on this island of Haiti. What's most beneficial for us? His bravery, his cunning, his wit, the stuff that he did was crazy. If you look at the Haitian Revolution, Saint-Domingue as it was called back then before it was called Haiti. So definitely Toussaint Louverture, and he's totally slept on. A lot of racism concerning him. And it's accurate to say in Alano's best that Napoleon Bonaparte was either scared of him or he couldn't accept his greatness because he was African.
Because he was black.
So that's if I had to pick number 3. As far as number 4, man, that's Queen Elizabeth. If you want to keep it real,
Queen Elizabeth.
If you're talking about statesmen,
Queen Elizabeth, the recent Queen Elizabeth.
We talking about control.
The Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah. There are many, but we talking about domination.
Yeah.
You can say what you want. The British this, the British that, the British that. But we talking about statesmen.
She outlasted
politics
herself. She outlasted many countries herself.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And so let's
political influence, all that. Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's beautiful.
And Allah knows best.
But so your final advice, inshallah. But I do want to point to something that you did say that was real interesting. It was very subtle, and this was, I think, the point of this whole podcast that was like hidden in there, and that's like leveraging benefit.
No question.
Leveraging the most important thing to you in that given moment.
No doubt.
That's what this podcast.
You gotta be wise.
We can conclude and say that's been
the thing. For sure.
So give us some advice, inshallah. We'll close off with that.
Final advice.
2 minutes. We'll try to hit that 1 hour and 20 minute mark, inshallah.
Final advice. Well, the creation of lanes, let alone staying in them. We need fields of expertise. If you're a money man, you're a muscle man, you're a speaker, a networker, a mover, a shaker, you're a scholar, you're this, you're that. You're in the foods and cooking and so on and so forth. I don't got time to be here and there. I'm in the kitchen 24/7.
Right.
Sharpening, honing my blade, perfecting my craft. So before we talk about staying in lanes, we have to make sure that the lanes are what?
Yeah.
Available.
They're available.
And the door is open for our youth to pick.
Yeah.
So we have to create the situation with son, what do you want to do? You want to be a scholar? You want to be a such and such? You want to be a such and such?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the creation of those lanes,
Yeah.
let alone staying in them. That's very important on an individual level, societal level, we talking about a community, a masjid, so on and so forth. Also, from the very important piece of advice is experts have to work together.
Yeah.
You can't say stay in your lane, but then you're forced to do something and wear a different hat. I don't have to worry about money because that's you. You don't have to worry about muscle
Because it's me.
I got that.
Yep.
The tough guys, don't worry.
Right.
You ain't got to watch your back. We got you.
I may not be tough, but the guys I came with.
There you go. There you go.
Tough.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Shout out to my elder. My salaf. He preceded me in seeking knowledge. Imam Abu Muslima. May Allah bless him. May Allah accept his good deeds. May Allah give him a long life full of good. I mean, and that's a beautiful fact that he said, I'm not tough.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta holler at me.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta. But over there,
they tough.
Let me see you go in.
Nah.
Try to force your hand with them. Because we know what's gonna happen.
Nah.
And that's a big problem with us. With Islam, you sitting there debating this ignorant, French fry guy. The baked potatoes is over there.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about scholastics and ilm and this and that, tafaddal. Why are you beating up and picking on this weak little puny guy?
Nah.
And that also goes back to the lane. The lane is
Picking the lane and staying.
Hey, well, you want to be a scholar? Go be a scholar. You a scholar in the middle of this park or on this corner. Bro, you want to be a debater? Go debate somebody.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? So the creation of the lanes is very important for a Dawah organization, for a masjid, those lanes being defined, and the concept of working together. And we learn that from Islam, of course, and we learn that from studying the world and the history of the different wars, the danger and the importance of alliances, and how there has to be cooperation between the states and the people of those states to make one solid fist.
Definitely.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Definitely.
So I think that
all five fingers got to come together.
we got to lead by example, though. We just talk about it. The du'at, they got to work together.
Yeah.
I'm going to support your program. Even though it's not my program, but I'm going to support it. I'm going to show up. I don't have to listen to your lecture and whatever, but I'm going to go just to show people, dang.
Yeah. Mufti's sitting over there. We got to go there, too.
There you go. There you go. But it's easy to what?
Yeah, it's easy to say.
It's easy
hard
to solve.
do, yep.
Number third piece of advice is, just not caring. There's different words of saying it. You know what I'm trying to say.
I know exactly what you're saying.
They make the art of not, but that's real.
Yeah.
You can't be worrying about and caring what they're going to think and feel about you. And that goes back to the first two pieces of advice. You stay in your lane, right? We work together. But when I'm doing my thing on my time, I'm not worrying about how this person thinks and feels. So you got to have that attitude of, I don't care about being accepted or loved by everybody, or I don't worry about being hated by some people. So you got to have the courage and you got to have the ability to just turn it off, like what you're saying doesn't matter to me. And that a big part of that is ikhlas. That's ikhlas. Yeah. Not caring who is loving you or hating you because it's the right thing to do. You got to have that courage, and you can't care about the whiner, the lomat latim, the blame of the blameworthy people, so on and so forth. Last but not least is you got to have a little bit of fanaticism and a little bit of bigotry in your way. Yeah. So if you're a person of knowledge, you want to call to knowledge, you want to propagate knowledge, no doubt the worldly sciences, no doubt different people, but at the same time, this is what it is. We're calling to knowledge. We're talking about aqidah. Different imams have different aqidas, different imams, but if you don't have a little bit for the truth, I mean, what true love and relationship is there without jealousy? Yeah. Without some type of, jealousy for the truth.
Protection.
Yeah. So you got to have a little, you got to don't hide it as well. You know what I'm saying? I respect coffee. Coffee is nice, such and such, but
I'm a tea guy. Khalas.
There you go.
That's all it is.
Wallahu ta'ala.
Allah yubarik feek, Shaykhna.
For hosting me. I really appreciate it. I hope that the podcast will be of benefit to people. I hope I ain't saying nothing to offend anybody.
I hope so.
I hope
too.
I ain't saying nothing to offend you.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying, nothing that's going to be controversial,
Yeah.
you know, politically incorrect.
Oh, you definitely offended me by not adding another Shafi'i to the Mount Rushmore, but that's fine. Allah Ibarak Feek. Inshallah, the podcast was really good, and I think Mufti is going to come back for another one, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for being on, and we appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and getting this together was a real doozy.
I'll get it back.
Alhamdulillah.
I'll get mine from you.
Inshallah. Allah Ibarak Feek.